Dan Lanning on the critical moments of his team at Wisconsin.
We can handle critical moments. We can handle when it's tough, and at some point that experience is going to pay off for us. It certainly paid off for us tonight. Going through some of that before, it paid off tonight.
He continued about his team's toughness.
I think there was a lot of moments stacked up in this game that were the difference, right? It's always about the next play. For us, it came down to, every single play mattered tonight. So I don't know if it was that moment, but, I know I love that team that's in that locker room right there. I know they fought their ass off tonight for a tough game against a Wisconsin team that came ready to play. They played some great D tonight, and they stifled us. They held us back there. But for us to do just enough to win, I'm really pleased with the guys in that room.
And the biggest takeaway, I think, from the Ducks win is the defense. It continues to play very well this year. There was no Jordan Birch in this game, but Mateo Uiagalelei had a massive game, as did the defensive line. Braden Locke for the Badgers is awful.
Not good.
He threw 96 yards. They had 96 yards passing in this game. And Dan Lanning talked about Mateo's game and the defense's performance in general.
Well, I think everybody's taken notice of what kind of player Mateo is, and really just the entire front did a great job tonight. And Mateo certainly has shown the ability to be a great player for us, and he gets better and better every single week. And he'd be the guy to tell you that it's about the people around him. It's about the coverage that existed on that play to create that. It's about the batted ball that was in the air that he took advantage of. So we didn't have any takeaways in this game until that play, and that one certainly was a big one.
He had a sack, a tackle for loss, an interception. He was a nightmare. They batted passes down all night. Jamari Caldwell, who got banged up a couple times in this game, Lanning said in the postgame he thinks he's okay. They were just stellar up front. I've been noting this throughout the year, but I think it's really important post this Wisconsin game, Dirt. They, I think, are on a tier either with themselves or with like three other teams in college football. And one thing you notice about this Duck group versus other Duck groups of the past is when teams like Georgia struggle but they win, it's because of what you saw at Madison. The defense, the defensive line, they've got the edge, the big boys. Oregon finally has that with Dan Lanning.
That's what he's built.
And it played itself out with Mateo's big game, Caldwell's disruption, linebacker Bassa was flying all over the field. Their defense won them this game, and their defense has been the story of this year's team, even though Dylan Gabriel, Jordan James, they get a lot of the headlines. The defense is leading the Ducks this year.
And they did it again without their best defensive lineman. A guy who's likely going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft in April, who was great at setting the edge against the run, and that was one of the only areas that Wisconsin found a little bit of wiggle room there in the second and third quarter. When their defense needed to make stops, they were absolutely dominant. The stat that blew me away from this game, Wisconsin had 11 total possessions on offense in this game. 11 total possessions. They scored on 3 of them. They had the 1 touchdown and the 2 field goals. Those are their scoring drives. So they had 8 drives that they did not score on. In the 8 drives that they did not score on, they ran a total of 26 plays for 7 yards. That's 20.
What's that average?
That's 3.25 yards per plays per drive. So basically, you're barely over a 3 and out, and you're just punting it back to them, and that's less than 1 yard per drive. Their drives were 3 plays, minus 4 yards punt, 3 plays, minus 4 yards punt, 3 plays, 0 yards punt, 5 plays, 15 yards punt, 3 plays, 1 yard punt, 3 plays, negative 9 yards punt, 4 plays, 1 yard, turnover on downs, 2 plays, 7 yards, interception. Those were their 8 non-scoring drives.
3 yards per play.
And we're not talking about the team that played at Air Force. This is the Wisconsin Badgers that you're talking about.
Yeah, man, look, Wisconsin's offense is terrible. We knew that coming in. Their quarterback sucks. But that's just there's no life there. They had 3 drives.
Can you repeat that stat one more time for those just getting in the car? Swag, you just did the math. So what? Give me the non-scoring
Wisconsin
drives.
had 11 total possessions in the drive. Okay, 11 total. They scored on 3 of their 11 possessions.
Okay,
two field goals and a touchdown. So that means they had 8 drives where they did not score. On their 8 drives they did not score, they ran a total of 26 plays for 7 yards on 8 drives.
Technically, that's 0.27 yards per play.
Yeah.
0.27 yards?
A quarter of a yard per play.
That is a remarkable stat. I don't know if you got that
They
from
got a
somebody.
No, I
foot
looked that
per
up because I
play.
was like, it felt like when they had their drive where they found their rhythm a little bit, where they were running off tackle in the second quarter. They ended up scoring that touchdown at the end of the first half. They had the drive to start the third quarter where it was like 16 play. They ate up the whole clock. They're running the football somewhat efficiently. And then Mateo made a huge sack to hold him out of the end zone there because they had a chance to go up 17-6.
Yeah.
Mateo makes the sack. It's 13-6, and that allowed Oregon an opportunity to stay in the game. And then they ultimately outscored them 10-0 in the fourth quarter. But they had those 3 drives where it was 2 in the second quarter, and then the one to open the third quarter, or 3 drives that they found a little bit of rhythm. Outside of that, they couldn't gain a yard to save their lives.
God, that's crazy. They played jump around at the end of the third quarter at Wisconsin. I saw a live video. There's some Duck fans that put some stuff out on social that went to this game, and it had to have been freezing, or
I think it got cold as the night went on, yeah.
or it was just depressing watching Wisconsin play football for that reason we just noted with your stat. The jump around was a little lackluster from what I've seen in years past, but here is Dan Lanning on what jump around meant to him.
We had a mindset when we entered that game what that song was going to mean for us, and what our reaction was going to be to it. Kind of like Pavlov's dog, right? When you hear that song, it means it's time to go. Didn't know what it would look like in that moment, but that was what we were looking for from our team.
Because the video, when they came back from the third quarter, the NBC camera showed the team on the sideline jumping around. And at that point,
everybody does that. It's the tradition.
Sure,
right?
They were down 13-6, and they had a 4th and 9 decision looming right out of the start of the fourth quarter. And so that ended up being one of the cooler sequences because they showed that, the team getting into it and jumping around, and then 10 seconds later, it was Dylan Gabriel hitting Terrence Ferguson for a first down. And so that ended up being a really cool sequence. Those are those little things, man. I think Lanning identified that. What's going to be the message and the talking point? He's done this all year. That was his big push. He said, when you hear jump around, that's when it's time to go. That's when it's time to finish this game. He knew that they were going to be running on fumes going into it, I think. And what happened in the fourth quarter? They play jump around. Oregon scores a touchdown ultimately on that drive. They outscore Wisconsin 10-0. Wisconsin never had any life on any of their possessions late in the football game. It was nothing but 3 and outs, 4 and outs, and an interception. And so they dominated the end of that game after jump around.
It didn't end up impacting the game to the sense of it dictated winning and losing, but late Oregon was up, and it looked like they might kick a field goal on 4th down.
To go up by 6. They're up by 3 to go up by 6.
And I certainly could understand both sides of this argument, but Lanning they did a fake field goal. They got stopped short. Wisconsin got the ball back. And in the moment, you're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. As we noted with the stats, though, Wisconsin was getting 0.27 yards per play on most of their drives.
2 plays later, Mateo had a pick and the game was over.
Yeah, it was tipped by Caldwell, pick by Mateo, game is over there. Lanning was asked in the postgame on TV, and he basically was just like, hindsight, it's easy.
He said we had a look, it didn't
yeah.
execute, and it didn't work.
This isn't a big debatable thing. I actually don't think the result and outcome is going to dictate how Dan Lanning calls these going forward.
Nope.
I did get into a fun. This was not any animosity because me and Nimick are cool. Nimick was like, totally didn't see it coming. Good move. I like it. I just fundamentally disagree with when Lanning is coaching, there's not a surprise from special teams. You may catch a Maryland sleeping with Jordan Birch, but I never at any one point in special teams with Dan Lanning go, don't think a fake's coming here. I just always kind of put it in the back of my mind.
Always on guard, never sure what's going to come.
What did you think of that? Like, I know this is kind of who he's been, but also if you're going for it on 4th because a field goal doesn't do it for you, where would you be on that? Because if that doesn't work in a playoff game against a good team, I don't think people are going to go, well, it's who he is, it's no big deal. I think people are going to be pissed. So where are you at just in general on that?
I mean, that happened to him last year against Washington with 4th down calls. This is who he's always been, and that was me in the aftermath of those games. This is who Dan Lanning is. I love my wife. She's the best thing that ever happened to me, man. There are things about her that drive me nuts. They drive me nuts. She wears scrubs for work, and when we do laundry, we wash her scrubs usually every Sunday before she starts a new week of work. They'll just sit in the laundry room in the basket all week, and it drives me nuts. Like put them away. But I love her. I love everything about her, other than a few little minor details. That's Dan Lanning, dude. Like, at what point are we just gonna say that, this is who he is. Take him or leave him. What do you want? He's going to go for it on 4th down. He's going to fake punts. He's going to do something squirrely in a big game. Do you like the direction of the program or not? Do you like being 11-0 and a number 1 team in the country? The thought process behind this decision made a lot of sense. Now, you can validly argue Would you rather have Dylan Gabriel on the field? What was it, 4th and 5, 4th and 6?
Yeah,
Four.
4th and 4. Okay,
Four,
so do you want Gabriel on the field to pick up 4 yards or not? That's a valid argument that we can discuss, and I have no issue with it, and there's no right or wrong answer there. The math behind it was we're up by 3. They can't get a yard to save their lives on our defense. If we kick a field goal, we go up by 6. Guess what? A touchdown still beats us if we're up by 6.
Yeah.
He did the same exact thing against Idaho. Yeah, Idaho in week 1. They were up by 3. They had a 4th and 7 inside the 20-yard line. They got Idaho to jump off sides, got it to a 4th and 2, converted the 4th and 2, and scored the touchdown. And everybody at the time was like, why would you go for it there? Because if a touchdown's going to beat us either way. So, yeah, it takes away the ability for a field goal to tie the game and send it to overtime. But I think if you're Oregon, you feel great about your chances to win that game in overtime because of the way your defense was playing. The look was there. He got tripped up. Like, I see what they were seeing. Herbert didn't take a right angle. They missed a block. But what bothers me the most about these is that nobody says anything when it works. It's not second. When he waterboy onside kicks an Ohio State guy, nobody's screaming, why did you do that? It's, wow, that's a great call. When Jordan Birch fakes a punt inside his own 30, it's like, God, that was great. He looked like a running back. If he picks up that first down, do you know what we're saying today?
Yeah.
God, Lanning, what a genius.
Ballsy
God, there
Lanning.
he is.
Yeah.
Ballsy Lanning. There he goes. He came up a half yard short.
So you're not wrong in a lot of what you're saying, but like I don't think the debate is go for it or not. I am so pro go for it in that moment. The only little thing, because you're right, this is who he is. And again, I don't think the result's changing a single.
And I don't want it to change it, man. I like my coaches being aggressive, and I want him to stay aggressive.
All I'm noting, again, did not dictate the game. Oregon's defense won it. Lanning is going to keep being aggressive, Dan Lanning. And I don't blame anybody for loving it.
Yeah.
I also didn't tee that up for you to kind of bury your wife on the radio.
I love my wife.
Good luck when you get home today.
I mean, how many things do I do that piss her off? Oh, God, dude, it's way too long of a list.
Well, there's too many things to count.
Yeah.
It's not a debate of go for it or don't go for it. To me, it's more just like in the moment, do you go for the fake with the field goal team or do you just want to see Dylan Gabriel? Because going for it, I'm all for it in that moment.
It's totally fair.
And I agree with his assessment on it. Just an interesting note. Good stat from Dirt once again, and then we'll go here. Wisconsin had 11 total drives versus Oregon in the game. Besides the 3 scoring drives, the other 8, they ran 26 plays for a total of 7 yards. That boils down to 0.27 yards per play. What a performance by the Oregon defense. 11-0 for the first time since 2010.